Transition Awareness Breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition Awareness Breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Eartha. Welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. So happy that you are here and ready for another session. Today, we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to share my screen with you and show you a short little clip about our topic today. Today, I would say our practice is about awareness and compassion. Compassion regarding ourselves, awareness regarding our values. And the question I would like to begin our session today is, does your lifestyle reflect your values? The compassion that you show yourself, does it reflect your values? And as I ask you those questions, I ask myself the same questions as I was actually preparing for this podcast and getting the material. I reflected on the same question. So let's progress together. Before I go any farther, I'd like to thank Web Talk Radio for allowing me to bring Transition Awareness Breathing to you on this platform. And also, thank you, Mary Lou and Sam, for making Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast available to my listeners wherever they go. So, okay, let's get started. So I'm looking at my screen. I'm going to share the screen. And let's see, it's recording. And I see the share the screen button. So I practiced one time. So let me see if I can do this kind of smooth. As I get used to this technology, my hope is to include you in a interactive session a little bit more than just the audio podcast. It's like you're here and you're sitting down with me. So if you were here, right here in my backyard, I would say let's watch this cool video, and that will get us started on our discussion. Let's do a practice that finds out what's our value. If we're spending time with things and it's frustrating, it irritates us, we're getting frustrated over the little stuff, ask ourselves, are we placing importance on things that's not in line with our values? Are we becoming overly attached to a fake reality? Do we find ourselves embracing and adopting opinions of others or societal expectations? Then we have to find out what's true, immediate, and important to our values. We need to filter out what is really important to us. Sometimes we can participate in behaviors that start off fun and relaxing. However, sometimes we have to stop and realize, are these behaviors taking us away from our values? Values give us direction. They guide our behavior to what matters the most. Caring about what's important and valued means letting go and release what is not worth caring about. Oftentimes we get in situations and we're anxious, we're stressed, we're confused, we feel unfulfilled. If we participate in life with affirming our personal values and keeping focus on our personal values, then we realize that, you know what, things come and go, but values and affirmations grow. But be careful and be aware of negativity that instigates negativity. Be aware how you feel with negativity, thoughts, actions, and influences. Treat negativity like an unwelcome guest. Invite the intruder to leave and remain calm. Thank you so much for taking that venture through that little video. So what did you think about the video? How did it stir your feelings? Did it motivate you to maybe think about what are my values? Or maybe the visual little cartoons were a little bit too distracting, and maybe you felt like, I would have did that a little differently. I do that too. Sometimes I watch movies and I get distracted. But let's talk about a little bit of a mindful moment. What was going through your mind when we talked about values that guide us and give us direction? Sometimes we can be involved with things that we thought were part of our value system, but actually maybe we were influenced because of social influences, organizational influences, not wanting to feel distant or apart from a group. And so we find ourselves participating in activities or doing things that inside we're really not comfortable. We don't feel at home with ourselves. And so when we do have a time and we are by ourselves, we may be influencing ourselves to do things that's really harmful. We may start habits or isolate ourselves. And actually, what we're really trying to communicate is I want to get back to me. I want to be me. I need some me time. So during our time together, I would like just a little informal practice before we do this little exercise. I have my little notes pulled up. And just take a moment. You don't have to close your eyes, but just take a moment to think about what are your values. Eliminate any thoughts about your organization requirements. Eliminate any thoughts about your school requirements, the rules of the school. Think about what is important to you. And you may have never shared this with anyone. So just take a moment. And because you're doing this with me, and I would invite you maybe right now to maybe get a piece of paper or your journal and write five thoughts, 5 things that is important to you that you consider your values. So while you're doing that, I'm looking at my notes. Write 5 things. What value is important to you? And write a because sentence. This value is important to me because. And if you don't want to write it down, you can use your mobile device, or you can just think about some of these thoughts and just kind of reflect. Okay. So at least 5 things. What's important to you? What do you value? I value being outside because I like to appreciate the beauty of nature. I connect with it. That's just an example. Or I value my family because. And so you write your because statement. There's some examples. I don't want to lead you on, because everybody's different. Everybody's value systems are different. Sometimes one way, and this was briefly touched upon on the video, when we are engaged in different activities or things, we engage in things that stimulate negative behaviors or negative feelings. We get irritated, stressed, anxiety. We do not live in a fishbowl, and a certain amount of anxiety and stress we experience because of life. But what I'm talking about is beyond the normal anxiety, the stimulus to keep us motivated. Are you able to recognize those situations? Because it's those situations, it is suggested. I'm using, by the way, positivepsychology.com as my resource. It is suggested that if we're participating in activities that's stimulating stress, anxiety, that maybe we may be participating in something that's taking us away from our values. Okay, so now that you have your 5 thoughts of what your values are and your because statements, let's take it a little bit farther. And I'm going to read some questions. See, what did you care about that kept you up all night? So what we're going to do now is now that we've got our 5 values written down, now we're going to look at our day, our time, and see what things are we really devoted to? What keeps us busy? What captures our attention? So that's what these questions are about. So if we look back over the past 7 days, a week, think about the things, the big things and the small things that you were involved with as far as your time, the things that you spent your money on, and the things that captured your attention. I remember this is a little bit of a different setup. I remember doing this type of exercise in a leadership course, and you may have participated in a similar exercise. And we divided our paper in 4 quadrants, and we would put what was number 1 that captured most of our attention, and number 2, some of our attention, number 3, a little bit, less of our attention, and number 4 was what we really wanted to spend time on. So this exercise that I'm sharing with you reminds me of that exercise we did when I was taking a leadership course. The next question, and just kind of think about it, is what did you care about over the past 7 days that made you feel happy and fulfilled? No one can answer that question for you. These are questions that you're asking yourself that maybe you haven't thought about for a while, but we're thinking about it now, and this is your time. What things did you spend time complaining about? And what things that you found that you had no control over? What things did you worry about that you think will happen in the future? What things did you worry about that happened in the past? And what things, or what did you care about that caused some anxiety? And finally, what things or activities in the past 7 days made you worry throughout the day? Okay? So as you are contemplating and reflecting on those questions, you can write down maybe how did your values play into these few statements. Were your values kind of suppressed? What kept me up all night? Was it something that you valued? Or what made you happy and feel fulfilled? Was it something that part of your value system? What did you complain about? Was it something that you valued, or was it something you had really no control over? And so that's how we are linking the busyness and the things that we do and the things that we say, and we line it up to our values. Now, some things that really don't line up with our values, that maybe we're complaining about something that we have no control over. maybe we can kind of let those things go. And unless you are able and willing to participate in the change, that might be an opportunity to find a way to, instead of using that time, because time is very valuable, using that time to do something that's within your value system. If you're participating in a lifestyle and with a group or an individual, and you feel, I'm tired of doing this. This is it. This is not fitting my value system. Are you aware? Are you making yourself aware that, is this something that you could change? Is this something that you could step back? Is this something that you could, share and talk about, that maybe you could put out on the table and express what your values are, what your true values are? Oh, sometimes people, they just say, if you don't say anything, then silence is agreement. But we don't want to stir up any trouble. We want to keep the peace. How much is that costing you? So look at your list and scratch off the things that you don't have control over, or the things that the future, it hasn't happened yet. Let's concentrate on the now. The stuff that happened in the past, it passed. You can learn from the past. We can reflect on the past, but to live in the past and then live in the emotions and tensions and stress of the past, how is that matching with your values? Again, we all have different values. You have things that you have written down, and my list is probably totally different. But I think one thing that we all can work on is to look at the list and recognize, what do we have control over and what we don't have control over? What can we participate in changing, and what stuff at right now we cannot change? Because maybe we will be able to change some things in the future. Well, maybe we need a little bit more information. Maybe we need to get to know the right contacts, and maybe we need a little bit more education. Some things we have to prepare ourselves, and that's what school is about. I'm talking to everyone. Are we limiting ourselves and saying, well, I'm too old to learn? Or are we, limiting ourselves? I'm too young to learn. I can't learn that. I'm not in that grade yet. I'm not in the, 6th grade yet. If you are willing to learn, you're willing to learn, and you can learn. Learning something new, it helps us develop our neurons, love branching off into new things, the neurons in our brains. So as we close our time together, and I hope this was meaningful, I hope it was thought-provoking, and I hope that maybe you learned something about yourself. I'd like to close ourselves in a little bit of a mindfulness practice. Just closing your eyes, making sure you're in a comfortable position. You could close your eyes or place your sight, or look at something that's in your focal point. You place your hands on your heart or on your knees, and just take a nice deep breath in and blow it out. We're not counting our breath. Just pay attention to the breath. Are you having any tension, any pressures? As your feet are comfortably placed on the ground, or if you're laying down, being aware of any pressures, any tensions. Speak to that tension and just be aware. How does it feel right now? And recognize it's there. Kind of put it aside and readjust yourself if you need to. Putting your feet on the floor and being aware and paying attention to the sensation in your legs. Any tension, any pressures. And really intentionally bringing that part of your body to calmness. I can feel my legs kind of just melt. I'm outside and as you can tell, the sun is a little bit on my forehead and it feels good to me. And so what's the temperature like in your area? I see some butterflies and grass. I'm listening to the sounds around me and paying attention to any smells. And now I'm just going to reflect on those values that I thought about, that I wrote down. How close am I to living according to my values? Many things influences our values. This is not a judgment. We are not portraying anyone's judgment, but we are accepting that without harmful judgment, that we can accept our values. And, sometimes we want other people to accept our values. But are we living the life that reflects that we accept our values? And I think that's where we have to start. Be comfortable with your values. And if you are participating in things or words and you have to compromise your values, how's that making you feel? Something to think about. I appreciate you taking time with me as we bring our session to a close. When we come again next time, I hope that you will reflect on what you wrote and take some time to just see where you're at. Thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to talking to you again next time. Have a great day.
Be sure and pick up a copy of Eartha's new book, Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's not just an ordinary coloring book. It features 23 illustrations to stimulate thought, relaxation, and creativity for anyone between the ages of 4 and 94. Increase your positive self-talk energy, unlock new creative paths, transform your time once or twice a week to create beautiful art while strengthening confidence, building positive self-talk, and sensitize self-awareness. Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's available now at Amazon.com.